All right, let's go. This is the Andre Davis Show. I am Andre Davis, and here we are. So this is the first of what I would presume is a series of episodes. In this case here, I am just going raw and without a script or necessary plan, because really part of this is a building process and showing the work going into something. So this show is an example of work that's going through. I always have all kinds of things going on, too many things going on. And one of the ways I have I've tried to do better with the too many things, or manage those things in a way that's not stressing me out, is I started a group, or a network, a group, people coming together, and I've called it the Genesis Network, and that started, and it started probably, I think 2 weeks ago. We had our first meeting last week. We met again, and tonight we're meeting again. So we meet every Monday at 7 o'clock. And it started out for me, I organized it all, and I was working with several of the people who I had invited to be part of this group. And so I found myself having conversations with them, either helping them with an idea, be it a business idea or something else, or them being kind enough to take my ideas. So they made good sounding boards for my ideas. And just people I feel comfortable sharing ideas with. I know there are certain people in life who I can share ideas with, or have shared ideas with, and they have zero interest. They're okay. Why are you telling me this? And they're just not interested in that kind of stuff. I have other relations. I relate to them in other ways, not just on not on this front. So. These are the people who I have that relationship with, and I invited out to it. So a handful of them came together and met during the introductory meeting. We had a good meeting. Had a second meeting. Nobody showed up. I had a recording, though, and that was something that spawned this as well. Because instead of just taking that meeting time to do something else, the meetings get recorded anyway, and I was like, all right, well, it's recording. I'll just go ahead and act as if there is a meeting. And then I went through some things that I wanted to talk about, and gave me a good platform to present, a reason to present, I should say. I think that's a huge thing. Having a reason to do something makes things easier to do. So anyway, had that reason to present there, and I made a good recording of it, I think. It gives me some content to chop up and play with and reflect on and practice with. So yeah, that's what that network, though, is that group is, as far as managing my things. How that helps me manage my things is I can use that as a repository of ideas. So I used to I still do have a file on Windows somewhere, and it's got just a list of ideas. Oh, I got my computer here. Let's see if I can. There's a reason why we pulled up this share screen action. I didn't want to just be talking. I mean, yeah, we were talking, but I didn't want to just be my head. I want to just like share stuff. All right, see if I can share stuff with. So if I can find my file, which is right. Nope. I could have sworn that. Where did I put it? So I have a file with just it's just all business ideas, and it's each one's got a folder, a subfolder for each business, and then there's some write up or something, a brief description. All right, can't find that file. I think I know I moved it. Obviously, I moved it, but so let's pull this over though. This is so with the Genesis materials, the network I put together. This is I created a OneNote. So the group meets on Teams, and everybody who is part of it has an invite to the meeting. That's regularly at 7 o'clock on Monday nights. And so if you're able to make it, you can sign on Monday night and then be part of the conversation. So I made because it's part of Teams, you can add a notebook to it, Microsoft OneNote, and then you can add files to it as well. So we have shared documents that can be shared amongst us and all this. But so this OneNote that I have here has a just a welcome page to get let people know what it is. I guess I'll read it. Why not? Welcome to Genesis Network. We are thrilled to have you join our dynamic team of professionals who are passionate about exploring the many facets of business. Our group is a melting pot of diverse perspectives, each member bringing their unique experiences and insights to the table. Whether you're dealing with a challenging project, navigating complex business dynamics, or simply looking to refine your approach, you've come to the right place. Our mission is simple: to create a collaborative environment where we can openly discuss our daily and weekly business challenges, share our personal experiences, and collectively engineer innovative solutions. Here, we believe that no problem is too big when tackled by a team of creative minds. By comparing different approaches and brainstorming together, we aim to not only solve immediate issues, but also to develop best practices that can be applied across various business contexts. What to expect? Open discussions. We encourage everyone to speak freely about their current challenges, no matter how big or small. Collaborative problem solving. Together we'll explore different solutions, weigh their pros and cons, and decide on the best course of action. Diverse perspectives. Benefit from the wide range of experiences and viewpoints within the group, helping you to see the problems from new angles. Continuous improvement. Our goal is to help each other grow and succeed by constantly refining our approaches and strategies. We're excited to learn from each other and to support one another in our business endeavors. Welcome to the team, and let's make great things happen together. So that's the welcome page. And then I've been starting to put together notes, and everybody in the group has access to the notes, but these are just basically a list of topics, and then we can expand where need be, but topics that came up out of our first introductory meeting, and then other things that I thought about would be nice to discuss. So data security. Somebody had talked about Biz Buy Sell. It's a site and you can buy businesses, but it looks like it's owned by the same people who do like apartments.com. It's the same look on the site. I'm currently looking for apartments, so I'm familiar with apartments.com and what they look like. And Biz Buy Sell looks like that. So I think they may be owned by the same people. Anyway, so somebody was talking about using that, and they wanted to maybe make an account there, and start really looking at what it takes to buy a business. And that's something that I'd love to talk about. And if anybody has ideas about that, like that's what this group is for. So as I have more and more ideas, or as I keep having ideas, and anybody else has ideas, the people that I'm working with or who are part of this group, we can just add that to this, and it's not going to be lost. Like that's, for me, like that's fun. That's awesome. Like, and I'm sharing it with people, and I can hear their points of view, and really just grow stuff. Like in our first meeting, we had an idea for a business that we'll probably end up talking about more and more, and seeing, is that something that's able to be developed and like that. And so, and these are some of the notes on some business project ideas that like I've had and been working on, that I'm sharing with the group, and notes on it to kind of figure out figure out like what we want to do with stuff. So yeah, that's what that's all about, and where this kind of started. Well, it didn't start here, but it was a good I don't know, something to do it. So what do I talk about in this on my own? Because I'm more of a I prefer a conversation with somebody else. They can interact. Because I really enjoy hearing somebody else's perspective on anything, because it's interesting. That's how I understand people. I understand people by knowing their perspectives and knowing how they understand things, or how they understand things, what their reality is. Because if they're similar to mine, and we both see that something is green, while a lot of other people see that it's blue, then maybe we share some things in common, and then vice versa. I don't know why I'm trying to explain that as much as I am, but that's just how it is. So one of the things I was thinking about, that kind of reminds me of, this is actually what I initially stepped in here to talk about, what I was going to start off with after the introduction, and that would be now. The idea of finding the good in things versus finding, nitpicking the bad. Not nitpicking the bad, that's a bad way to say it, because you're nitpicking the good too, right? You're looking for those little pieces. But when we think about looking for the good in things or people, or just like focusing on the negative aspects of things or people. So if, let's say you have a teacher who or have interacted with, or knew, and they were a good teacher, you learned a lot from them and you appreciated that, but they, I don't know, did hit students, yelled at students, verbally abused students. Didn't verbally abuse you, but verbally abused students. You, like the teacher, had nothing, got good grades and all that stuff, and they were a great teacher for you. Like you recognized their teaching, but they verbally abused students. So when talking about that teacher later on, do you put them in a good light or a bad light? Are they a good person or a bad person based on their behavior? Are you overlooking the verbal abusive students because they were a really good teacher for you, or are you disputing the good teaching to say that they were verbally abusive to students? And I'm not saying that it's an either or. You don't have to pick one way or the other. But what I'm saying is, like, that's kind of, we're looking for those things. So maybe you put them in the light of the negative. Say they verbally abused, and then you start saying, oh yeah, well, and they also did hit the kids too. and also did these other things, cheated on their taxes, and then, or on the other end of the spectrum, they were a really good teacher, and they picked up after other people's dogs, and they donated to their local library. So there are those ways to go about it. And if we're comparing things, if we're doing things for comparison's sake, like, if we believe that people are mostly good, or things are mostly good, that the world is mostly good, if we believe that, then that means that there are less bad things in the world, less bad things to look for in any given situation. Well, maybe not in any given situation, but in most situations. So, like, they're finding good in people, finding bad in people. But because there are less bad, if we assume, if we say that most people are good and there's less bad, if we're comparing the two to decide on something, it's more efficient for us to compare the bad. So rather than look for the good in people, we want to look for the bad, because that's going to be the more efficient thing. That's going to be the most efficient way to go ahead and compare the two. So let's say that, we'll make up numbers. Let's say there are 10 good qualities in a person, and there are 2 bad qualities in a person. So if you're comparing 2 people, you can either compare 10, or 2 each. Oops, 2 each. And then, and it's going to take a lot less time and a lot less energy to compare those lesser amount than it is to compare that bigger amount. So if it is more efficient, more linear, more straightforward, more energy resourceful, I don't know, if it takes less energy to go ahead and compare the bad, so we're going to look for the bad first, so we're going to disregard the good. So if think about that from like a AI perspective, if we're training our AI, in this case we are training our AI on things, we're just feeding it data, and it's kind of learning things along the way. At a certain point, I feel like, what's the possibility that the models go ahead and start doing what I just described, like only pulling the bad? I mean, in any case, so that kind of shows a bit of a potential for it to be kind of messed up anyway, because in any case, it's going to be finding the most efficient ways to do that, and you're going to run into logic similar to what I described in other situations. No need for me to come up with other examples, just to be creative. But so if the AI, the artificial intelligence, is doing these kinds of calculations, so in the case of the good and the bad, and only finding the bad and disregarding the good to do the comparisons, at some point, what if it only recognizes whatever it is as bad? I don't know if this makes any sense to me right now. So when I say only recognizes as bad, so I think of, like, if I'm working with ChatGPT or something, and I start, asking it a bunch of questions. See if I can pull up ChatGPT. ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, I'll pull up all kinds of stuff, and I'll go for a while sometimes. So this is no. I'm trying to find one that. Okay, here's one. So this one was a long one. No, it wasn't. A different one was. This was a long one. There we go. All right, so this was a very long thread going through, and as I was, what I would do is take a walk and put on my AirPods and use ChatGPT and use the voice, the feature where you can talk to it and basically have a conversation with it, and I would have a conversation with it when I would take my walks in the morning. And if I had an idea for something, like in this case, I would just talk about the idea and have it extrapolate at different points. On this one, I was playing around with what it would be like to use ChatGPT as a way to write a book. And kind of put something together, but I'm not. In hindsight, this was a while ago. I'm not sure that I'm interested in that. I'm interested in this idea, but not necessarily writing a book the way that ChatGPT put it out. For me, it's not quite there yet, and I'm not quite at the prompting level where I could make that work. But what would happen in these conversations is I'd be going on and on and on, and I'd want to go back to something, and it would sometimes remember to go back. It would sometimes go back appropriately, but there were several times where it would misremember something, or at least bring back information that wasn't the same as it brought back before him. So that just tells me that, and I could prompt it to get it right, but that just kind of tells me more of like what that AI process is doing. It's not really keeping track of all the memories. Like it's not as extensive memory as we have to make decisions, and that memory is not sticking with them. So kind of like values. I guess that's kind of like what that would be. So our values are really just memories of what it's like to be right. Not right, but who we are. Like what it's like to follow our paths or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm coming up on about where I want to be done with this. I think it's long enough. It's funny because I want to do more, but at the same time I don't, because well, I don't know how much longer that'll take. All right, let's do this. Let's go into what else. I'm gonna go political because I did want to talk about politics stuff. Because there's political stuff going on now, and I made a post on it, and I thought it was interesting. So I'll just share my Facebook post. So this it had to do with the whole border czar thing, but on a broader scale, kind of goes, oh, we'll tie it all together now. When I said nitpicky earlier, this is what it kind of goes back to nitpicky. So it kind of ties up in a nice bow, maybe. All right, so right now, Kamala Harris is the presidential candidate, and a lot of the media on the right, I would say, they're Republican. That's pretty much all I listen to, because that's really all I have access to, on the radio, at least. But they've been talking about the border czar thing and saying she was a horrible border czar and blah, blah, blah. And the defense, though, has been she was never border czar. And then so the argument, or not the argument, but I guess the argument changes from she was horrible at her job to she didn't have that title, which, yes, this is how these things work. This is how it has been for a long time, and this is how it probably will be for a long time after that. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be discussed, because it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, hey, you're not doing a good job. You didn't do a good job doing the job of the border czar while you were border czar. And then the response being, I was never border czar. I never had that title of border czar. And then the response would be like, well, yeah, you were the border czar, but not really. Like, I don't know. And it's boiled down to, like, what I was saying. What I did was looked it up, because I distinctly remember her being called the border czar, at least back when she was called the border czar. But that border czar calling was like through the media. In doing my research, unless I did hear something on some podcast or something where I think it was on the All In podcast, they said something about the media scrubbing, like Google scrubbing, or the media scrubbing the border czar, her being appointed border czar or whatever, from the internet, which seems kind of far-fetched. But I had looked prior to that and didn't find anything that where she was like appointed border czar. What I did find was that she Joe Biden announces that, we'll just get the whole thing. Timeline as I see it in the news. Joe Biden announces that Kamala Harris is to lead the U.S. response to the record surge in migrants on March 24th, 2021. Not named the border czar. And that's all it was. Like, that there's the record that, or the statement that was put out in the press briefing or whatever. There's a website that has, I'm not going to read this whole thing because I went through, but the summary, I looked at some 2022 articles as well, and it's clear that Kamala Harris has never been titled the border czar. That title has been held, but not by Kamala Harris. She has been called the migration czar by the Biden administration, so that was the 24th, and but not the border czar. That title has solely been given to her by others. Even in news articles, whenever border czar is used in reference to Kamala Harris, it is in lowercase and in quotation marks. So, based on all that, like, she wasn't ever named the border czar based on that information. Who cares? Like, was she responsible for the border? Yes, because she announced, Joe Biden announces that Kamala Harris is to lead the U.S. response to the record surge in migrants on March 24th, 2021. So, does that have border in there? No. But if they're migrants, they are doing what? Crossing a border. Coming through the border. So, like, yeah, she was responsible. Did she do a good job at that? That's the question. Answer that question, as opposed to what the title was. And I don't know. I guess the numbers and the sentiment of the American people speak for themselves, I guess, as to whether she did a good job or not. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought that was silly. It was ridiculous, and pretty much at 30 minutes. So we'll call it good. I think we'll do the show at 30 minutes.